Got it, and the message.
Yeah.
Oh, that was funny.
Okay, let's get going. Good afternoon. Denver, really good team. Learned a lot about ourselves. Certainly, I was really impressed with their team. That's certainly a team to measure yourself by at this stage of the game. I thought Friday night's game, we put ourselves in a position to win the game and made some costly mistakes that cost us the game. And really, I thought Saturday's game was not as close as the score indicated it was. I thought they dominated the game, and to be realistic and practical, and our guys understand that. So, tough place to play. I know I wouldn't talk about the A word last week, altitude, but it was real, and I'm glad we don't have to deal with it again, at least not at this stage. But that was a challenge. I thought our guys competed hard, but we're a little shorthanded, and we're trying to play over that, and we'll continue to do that this week. We have a number of guys that are out that we're kind of monitoring day to day. We lost one more. Matt DeBlau will be out 4 to 6 weeks with a lower body injury. So we didn't pick up coming back. We actually lost some ground in terms of healthy bodies. And so, we just keep moving forward. Lake Superior, their team's a inexperienced group. They're playing a lot of freshmen. I don't want to call them young because there are a number of older freshmen. But I think they're getting better every game they play, and they're going to come in here, I think, playing with confidence after losing their first game at Northern, and then winning at home against winning at home against Northern in their second night. So they'll be coming in here with confidence, and certainly playing Michigan State is an important game on their schedule. So it'll be a really good test for us. I wish, it's funny how things play out. I wish we could play Friday and Saturday rather than Thursday and Friday, just given our general health. But those are the cards we're delivered, and we'll just deal with them. Questions? Yes.
Tom, you mentioned shorthanded. If I heard correctly, your team is 18 for 19 on the penalty kill this season, and while the overall record may not reflect that, you got to be impressed by your guys' ability to grind out those power plays.
There were two areas that we came back with pretty satisfied with our progress at this stage of the game, and that was one of them. Our penalty kill was certainly one of them. Our goaltending was one of them. But Denver's a very skilled team. Very skilled, and so they presented a lot of danger on the power play, and for us to kill the penalties that we did, that was positive. So that was a good thing.
You have 8 of your next 9 at home, and then I believe 10 of your next 13 or so. How critical is this stretch to building that resume for the tournament, and especially in your own building, getting those victories?
I think it's an important stretch, and coming into the season, we felt it was an important stretch. So each game, we're going to continue to work, obviously, to get better like everybody does. We need to find a way to try to get healthy, and maybe the timing, ironically, has worked out, hopefully favorable, given that we play this week, even though it's kind of a short week. And then we don't play next week, and then we get right back into it. Now, I don't know if that's going to buy us any time or not, but the guys that are out, we were relying on very significantly to be top 6 forwards in our lineup. And I already talked about Rosberg. We felt he'd play meaningful minutes. So those are real issues, and guys are getting opportunity, are going to have to step in and try to play bigger roles, because we do think that this stretch is an important part of us trying to position ourselves, not just for the tournament, for the start of the Big Ten season.
Does that also, being at home, help the healing process a little, so you're not traveling as much?
I'd hope so, because the travel has been pretty demanding, and we've been very conscious of that. We've only had today's practice is practice number 10. That's all it's been. And we've last week we gave the guys Monday off because we traveled all day Sunday. And this particular week, I don't know what time we get home, the bus get home, like 3 o'clock, and we left the hotel at 4:30 in the morning. So the Sunday wasn't like a day of rest; it was a travel day, and yet we decided to practice yesterday, and because of the short week. So the way things have played out, we're just kind of dealing with. But I'll look forward to hopefully being able to recoup both some time as it relates to rest a week from now, but also time to really spend practicing, which we haven't had a lot of so far.
Tommy, you might take your lumps going to Denver when you scheduled it, but you don't look at it as a lost weekend because you got swept, right? You learned something from the weekend?
Very, very much. I when I got home on Sunday, I was talking to my wife saying, God, anytime you lose like this, and they dominated the game on Saturday, you're feeling bad. You don't feel too good. And yet, as I went through it, given all the dynamics that are going on, I told her I want to make sure our team understands you can't feel good about losing, but it's part of the process of getting better too. And so I don't want to beat ourselves up over it either. It's a darn good team. We're not where we want to be yet, and we're going to use it as a good learning experience. So that's absolutely how we're approaching it. And I would reschedule it if I had to.
Off the beaten path, I've talked to 3 MSU coaches today to ask them where they were when the play happened. So you're on the bench, right?
Not quite. I'll tell you exactly.
How'd you find out?
So we're at our team meal, which was 2:00 Denver time, which is 4:00 here, and we're watching the game. We've got it pulled up on the internet, watching it in our meal room. Then guys got to go to their room and relax. So I watched it. I was doing some film stuff and meeting prep, so I was watching the game in my room. Then when we left, we got on the bus. There was 6 minutes and something to go. And so I followed it from the time we left the hotel to the arena. When I got off the bus, we had just turned the ball over on downs, and there was, 1:47 to go. And so now we walk to the locker room. And our players are in the dressing room. The coaches are in kind of this draped area down the hall. And all of a sudden, I hear this huge roar, and it's our guys in our locker room. And Doc Norris comes running down to this draped area where Kelly and I and Fasty are sitting, and he says, "You guys got to call this up on the internet." So what happened? So I can't tell you. You won't believe it until you see it. So we call it up, and we saw that we won, and we were floored, probably like every other person that was following the game. But we didn't get to see it live. We watched it back on the internet. Well, this is probably about 5 o'clock, probably about 5 o'clock, 5:15, Denver time. We played at 7. So we had literally just gotten to the rink. We usually get to the rink about 2 hours before the game. So that was the buzz. It distracted us. That was a great distraction, though.
Tom, you talked about injuries and so forth and all that. What's the status of Tino Ferrantino?
Day to day. So he's day to day. Keller's hard to say right now. He skated yesterday on his own, hasn't skated with the team yet. So I would say, as we sit at this moment, he's got to make quite a bit of improvement to play Thursday and even probably Friday. Haig played for the first time, so that was good that was the first time he had contact in quite some time, which usually that's pretty unusual. We don't put somebody in the lineup. He was healthy and it was safe to play, but he hadn't even had a full practice before he played. He was in mostly drills that were non-contact. Who am I missing? Well, now DeBlau's out. He's on crutches. And the other guy, I'm going to invest in crutches. Yeah. Rosberg's on crutches, too. So DeBlau won't play. Keller, I'm not sure. Tino's day-to-day. And Haig will play.
Going back to Lake State for a second, what did you learn about Lake State when you played them in Maine that basically is a challenge to prepare for this week?
Well, just like I said, I didn't think our game was as close as the score indicated in Denver because I thought they dominated the game. We won 4-1 against Lake Superior, and I didn't think that it was a 4-1 type game. I thought that game was in contention until pretty late in the game, and we got a couple goals to kind of open it up. In the third period. So I think we scored right at the beginning, if I remember, the third period. So I think, like every team, their team's getting better. They're gaining experience. They had a rivalry weekend against Northern Michigan. That's an important series for them. And I think most of all, when you come off a win, you add some confidence. And so, they're coming in here with more confidence than probably they've had. And I'm sure that's a positive for their team. So we know it'll be very challenging for our team. We have to overcome some of the adversity we're dealing with. I think our guys will be in the right frame of mind. And I'm confident we'll be ready to play.
Are you scheduled to play up there anytime soon?
I don't know if it's next year or the year after, but we are going at some point. Yep.
Coach, going back to last weekend, you guys gave up, a lot of shots, a lot of goals. Is there any concern from you defensively?
Well, the concern was we really weren't able to shut their possession time down in our defensive zone, and we weren't able offensively to really generate much possession time in the offensive zone. So it really put a lot of stress on not only our defensemen, but just on our defensive play. So I'm going to give them a lot of credit because I think they're a very talented team, and that's a real strength of their team. And for us, I thought our guys competed hard. I did think we were challenged by the altitude, and I say that because I think our team's in real good condition. And yet, we had Friday night, we had guys thrown up on the bench, and it wasn't because they were sick. It's just the dynamics that they're playing with. So I thought, I can't question how hard we competed. I really can't. I think they're a good team, and we weren't able to contain them defensively, and I think it wore us down in that environment. But I don't think that's how it's going to be. I think it was like that, particularly on Saturday night more than Friday night, and I thought fatigue was a factor in that.
So if you go back, you'll try the oxygen mask?
I don't know what I'd try. I might leave 2 weeks early, if it was permissible. Because, I talked to a lot of people and guys who play in the NHL, and Kelly said he always struggled when he went out there to play there in Calgary. So it's, you want to pretend it's not real, but I know it's real. So, last week I said I'm not even going to bring it up, not going to talk about it, and I didn't. And I saw your interview, and I think you talked to Mackenzie about injuries, and the first thing he said was, and the altitude. So it's not like you're shielding the guys from it. They know it, and you just have to try to play over it. But it is real. It's definitely real. The coaches weren't overly affected by it. We didn't get our exercise level to the high. Oh, yeah. Every guy could feel it. Every guy could feel it. And we asked a lot of guys to play a lot of minutes, and that makes it challenging too. We tried not to have too much special teams play on the shorthanded side, which I thought was pretty reasonable overall on the weekend. But we asked a lot of the guys to play a lot of minutes. Yes.
As great of a team as Denver is, being ranked 5th in the nation, it seemed on Friday night that Jake was getting beaten by a lot of one-timer opportunities where he'd kind of come up behind the crease, hit it back to the circle, and then they'd try to shoot in from that way. So are you thinking about adjusting your defensive strategy at all for Lake State, or just kind of stay the course and recognize that Denver was just that good of a team?
Those were assignment breakdowns. We practiced that. We knew that was bread and butter to their offensive attack, and those were breakdowns that we had in our game. And so that wasn't a surprise. It was just frustrating that we broke down in that regard because they get a lot of offense from their defense. One wasn't a defenseman. It was just a late forward who scored from back there. But both of those goals were very similar goals. They were later in shifts, and that's when you don't want to get caught out, so you're making mental breakdowns because of fatigue, and they took advantage of it. Okay.